Good morning, one and all present here. My name is Amit Kumar Singh, and welcome to yet another session on investment management. Do you have any doubt what all I have covered till now? Anyone have any doubt? Any question you want to ask? Anyone, any question? I hope I'm audible. You can hear me. I hope I'm audible. You can hear me. So, anyone have any doubt? Anyone, any doubt? Till now, in the investment management, we have understood what investment is all about, and going further on investment, we were trying to understand the relevancy of stock market and how stock market is so relevant whenever we think of doing a portfolio management. So whatever money we have, we cannot put our money on one assets. We need to diversify our investment so that we can minimize the risk pertaining to one particular investment. So the best way, whenever you go for investment, the first thing is that you should invest. Next thing is that whenever you're doing investment, you should always work on portfolio management. You should always work for portfolio management. Should not invest everything on one avenue. So you should always invest, but at the same time, when you talk about investment, you should not put your money in one assets. You can invest your money in multiple assets. And whenever you do investment, so to decide which product for doing investment into the beta of each stock. Suppose if you are aggressively in stock market, if you are doing aggressively investment in the stock market, so what you can do, you can consider the beta of the stock. So more risk, more return. So if you consider those stocks which have a beta more than one, so means you are taking more risk. So if you take more risk, then there is a chance to get more return. At the same time, there is a chance to get more losses also. Data part also you need to be aware about. Going further, whenever you do investment, you look into the beta of the stock, and then what you need to do, you should not put all your investment on one avenue. Instead of that, you try to diversify your investment. Put your investment in multiple avenues by considering the beta, the P ratio, the price to book value ratio, the price to cash flow ratios. You can consider other ratios also. And then what you can do gradually, whenever we talk about investment, we look into the return of an asset. So whenever we talk about an investment, we look into the return on an asset. So we look into the return, how much return you can get on an asset. So what you can do whenever you talk about return on an asset, you can either talk about return as a historical return, return on asset. It can be either historical return, or it can be a return based on probability, or probabilistic return. So the return whatever you look, so the return can be either historical return, the return whatever you look for investment, it can be historical return, or it can be the return probability. So if you see historical data to get the return, if you see the historical data, so in that historical data, we use the term called average return. So what is your average return? Average return is the total sum of return divided by the time period. So what is average return? Average return basically means total sum of return what you will get, you divide by the time period. By that you will get the average return. And in order to calculate the risk on investment, in order to calculate the risk on asset, what we do normally, we look into the standard deviation. In order to see the risk on an asset, we look into the standard deviation. What is the formula of standard deviation? Summation of return minus average on return whole square divided by n. So we use that for we use this to calculate the risk. Risk, we calculate the risk by standard deviation. So, or either you can use summation of r square by n minus r bar whole square. So that will give you the standard deviation. Standard deviation is the factor which measures the risk on an asset. So I hope you remember. Already we have studied a lot about standard deviation variance in the first semester. So average return, you know what is average? Average can be arithmetic mean, geometric mean, harmonic mean, median mode. So all that will not focus more on that part. So whenever we have historical data, so your average return is the total sum of return divided by the time period. Risk for calculating the risk, we look for calculating the risk, we look into the standard deviation. Okay. Now, if your return is based on probability, return is based on probability. If your return is based on probability, so here instead of using the word called average return, I'll use the word called expected return. I use the word called expected return. So the expected return would be summation of probability into individual return. So you do the summation of probability into their individual return. While to calculate the risk, while to calculate the risk, while to calculate the risk on the asset, what is the formula we use for the standard deviation? So the formula for the standard deviation. So the formula what we use for the standard deviation. So the formula for the standard deviation what we use is square root of summation of pi into ri minus their expected return whole square. So this formula we use to calculate the standard deviation. Clear? So when we get the data based on probability, so we calculate the expected return by the formula. So we this is the expected return. We calculate the expected return by this formula. So this is the value of your expected return. So by this formula, we calculate the expected return of an asset, and then we calculate the risk on an asset by looking at it standard deviation by this formula. So while if I ask you what is the variance, so if I ask you what is the variance, what is its variance? So the variance is nothing but square of the standard deviation. So the variance of that will be pi into ri minus er whole square. By that we'll get it variance. Very simple. I hope you understood this. So depends on how you want to see the return. It depends upon how you want to see the return. Return you can either calculate based upon historical data, or the return you can calculate based on you can use probability to calculate the return. Okay, so this is the formula for that. Any doubt? Any doubt? Anyone? Any question you want to ask? Any doubt? Anyone? Any question you want to ask? Okay, so I hope you understood this. So we'll do a problem. See this question number two. Question number two, part C. The probability distribution of rate of return of a Bharat stock is given to you. Okay. Question number two, part C. Question number two, part C. Everyone. So we'll do this question. What is the standard deviation of return? What is the standard deviation of return? So what is the standard deviation of return? We'll do this numerical. So here state of economy, boom, normal recession, then probability rate of return, 0.3, 0.5, 0.2, 0.3, 0.5, 0.2, 16, 11, 6. So the sum of probability should always be equal to 1. The sum on probability should always be equal to 1. Now expected return. Expected return. How to calculate the expected return? So formula for the expected return. What is the formula for expected return? I told you the formula for expected return formula is sum of PI into RI. This is the formula for expected return. So multiply the probability into rate of return. 0.3 into 16, you'll get 4.8. Then 0.5 into 11, you'll get 5.5. Then zero point 0.2 into 6, you get 1.2. So the expected return, do the sum of this. So 6 plus 11.5. Clear everyone? So your expected return is 11.5. Anyone doubt on this? Anyone doubt? Anyone having doubt on this? Everyone clear? So the expected return. Anyone doubt? Bhavna, any doubt? Bhavna, Divya, Harish, Karthik, Mohan, Pawan, Prakriti, Priyanka, Ranjita, Sanjay, Yogeshwari, Chaitanya, Vidya, Ranjita, any doubt? Is I audible? Can you hear me? Dear students, can you hear me? Is I audible?